Sound check. Let's see if it works. Sound check. It works. It works. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. It's 2021, first stream of the year. And I would like to tell everybody hi. We have Robert Markovics. We have Hotrod. And Hotrod only has one hand right now. I don't know if it's the right or the left, but he was waving. Then we have Julio Morales. We have Walter Hall. We have Godriller and Fernie Herrera, all over to Colombia and Georgia and all over the world. It's crazy. Hasn't it been a crazy year? 2020. Oh my goodness. So today's live stream, I'm going to point out to you guys a few issues that I have with 2.5.18, which has been the latest update. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the remote ID FAA ruling, since I received a ton of messages ever since it got published. And yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, 2020 has been a crazy year for a lot of us. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have issues to abide to the new stuff that came up, all this mask thing and all that stuff. So let's just hope 2021 is gonna be a lot better. And I also hope that Autel is going to come out with a lot better updates, because 2.5.18 is not really. Walter Hall, what are you doing? Happy New Year to you, my man. Why can I not? Hang on. This is not working right. Hang on. I have to change something. Something is not right. There we go. We got to blow this up bigger. There you go. And of course, now I have my pig making noise in the background over here. Walter Hall, thank you very much. Happy New Year. Thank you for your donation. I deeply appreciate it. 2.5.18. Yeah, Hotrod says already, funny, you installed 2.5.18 and I didn't. Well, I had to, because I always try to point out the newest thing for these things. I regret that I actually put 2.5.18 on this, because 0.18, I'm just going to point it out as 0.18. 0.18 is a terrible update for me, because I was able to do the installation and then I was able to calibrate only once. Like, I did like multiple calibrations and it worked out good, because I had the horizon tilt thing going on. And all of a sudden, it's not letting me adjust the gimbal anymore. It keeps telling me that the drone is shaking. What does that even mean? I mean, I tried multiple services. I contacted Autel support. They were very helpful. That they said that they apologized for the inconvenience. And first, they gave me the option to check my settings, that it's in the gimbal, that it's on stabilized and not on FPV. Afterwards, I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, it's not, that's not what it is. It was unstabilized. And then they told me that I should try several different surfaces. So I tried surfaces all over. I must have tried at least 20 different surfaces. I tried concrete flooring. I tried a leveled out board. I tried plastic. I tried out in the open, out of nowhere. And I literally made it nice and flat with one of those stepping stones from the garden. And we have here a total disaster of being able to adjust this freaking gimbal. It keeps giving me that I cannot adjust my gimbal because the drone is shaking. And the drone is literally sitting still. It's not working out for me. Besides that, now it's not letting me do my IMU calibration either. So I'm having issues with that as well. So this bird is grounded for now until I can figure out how I can get all those issues out of the way. And hopefully Autel is going to bring out a new update soon, because that is getting on my nerves. The last flight that I had with this was New Year's Eve. That was the last time that I flew it. And she was fine at night. It's just, I could tell afterwards in post that some of my gimbal horizon was off, because when you look in the distance, you could see that it was a little bit off. And I tried to get rid of that by doing calibrations, and this drone is not letting me do those calibrations. After I did the first set of calibrations, it was like 5 calibrations where it lets me do it the first initial time after the update. It was perfectly fine until I reached the beach area. As soon as there's wind going on with this drone, she likes not to stay stationary anymore. Before she used to just tilt into the wind, whatever, and she stays stationary. She was going wherever the wind was blowing her, and she was just tilting into that direction. She was compensating for it fairly well. Now all of a sudden she's not doing that anymore. She's literally hovering off. She's wearing off by 4 or 5 yards, easy 4 or 5 yards. And that's a big issue in my case because I fly a lot of times. I fly very, very, very close to areas that are like obstacles. And I have obstacle avoidance on. And even though there's obstacle avoidance on and there's a tree, there's a wall, she's literally like aiming for it and she's going for it. That's a big issue out there. And you need to work on that. This whole stability thing is hurting you. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one. Let's go jump in the chat real quick. What Hall, first of the year? Yes, it's the first one. Oh, yeah, right there. First of the year. Yes, it's the very first stream of the year, 2021. And I'm sure it will be a better one. Then we have Hotrod. You're the anti-beta guy. Yes, I am the anti-beta guy. But 0.18 is actually not a beta anymore. It prompted me. So whenever something prompts me, that's when I actually install it, and I'm gonna do a review on it right after I tried it out and I see what's going on with 0.18, what has changed and all that stuff. So yeah. Walter Hall says, I did the install and have no issues at all. I'm glad you don't, because I have a lot, literally a lot of issues, and that's not good. That's really not good. Dan said, mine was off today. Guess I'll recal again. So see, I don't know why. If you do a calibration, I think in my eyes, you should be able to do a calibration all the way through and that the drone is fine. And apparently there's so many variants in here. I don't know if they have different parts per generations of these drones, because I still see a lot of posts of people getting those cracks on the side of their body, and I don't have any of that. I don't have those things. You know what I mean? Like I have usually never really have that many issues, and all of a sudden since 0.18 I'm having all these problems. Charge Autel for the downtime. Yeah, I wish I could. Michael says, maybe this drone is not for me. Seems like they can't get it right. It's because it's a brand new thing. It's a brand new drone, and it's like technically seen, it's like 6 months old right now. It came out. I think they pushed it out on purpose because they expected that the Mavic 3 might be released, and they wanted to get rid of this thing first, and they wanted to get it out first. And I think they sold over like 100,000 units in the United States alone. So that's a lot for a small manufacturer such as they are. And don't get me wrong, this drone is really good. It's a really, really solid drone. It does some really good stuff. The problem that I have with this is that I can't be as confident flying it as soon as there's an update. And I think that shouldn't be the case, because I mean, we see the issues that we have with DJI is you take the drone out yesterday and you're perfectly fine, you can fly it, and then all of a sudden you go to a different spot and you want to fly, and now you have to run an update first. So you're sitting there for like 15 minutes running a damn update first before you can fly. Besides that, you have the geofencing, but DJI seems to have it in order that they don't really have those big issues, big problems with wearing off and having problems calibrating and all that stuff. It lets you do all those things, and then it's going to be able to fly. Besides the geofencing, the only difference between that is that it's orange, it's big, it's huge, and it can withstand a lot of wind. And that was one of my biggest things, is the no geofencing, and that she's so solid, and she's like a boss. She's like a brick in the air. She's not going anywhere. And you have videos from Hotrod, I believe it's Hotrod, who made a video about it when it was like really solid, strong winds, and it was blowing in there, and the drone was fighting against it. And you couldn't even see it in the filming part. You couldn't even see it on the footage itself. And that, I think, is one of the strengths of this drone, because it's so solid, because it's such a heavy drone that it has really, for a quadcopter, it really, really is stable. The problem, what they creating is on their own part, is that whole software thing where now they're giving you an IMU calibration, and we figured out how to do an IMU calibration, and then people complain and said, oh, the pictures are not depicting it right. They're not picturing it right. We're not getting it right. I'm stuck on step 3. I was one of those dummies. I got stuck on step 3. literally looked at it, and I put the drone to the side, and I was like staring at it and looking at my screen, and I was like, nothing is happening. Not knowing that I actually had to put it like this, you know. Now they fixed that, but everything else is a chaos. So for me, at least, and a lot of other people had issues with 0.18. I seen it on the forums that people was complaining and all that stuff, and that's bad. That's what hurt Autel the most. It's like their own software updates. I mean, yeah, there's people like Hotrod and all those guys. They do some great beta testing, and there's a lot of guys out there that are very knowledgeable, very helpful, and they always do the beta on this drone, and then they say it runs really great, and they know already what's going on. Like back then with Smart Orbit, and everybody was excited about it. But that was pretty much it. Like, you look at the developmental phase from the last 6 months, it looks like that the drone wasn't ready to be pushed out on the market. They just pushed it out based on that they feared that there would be another drone that would just take away from their sales. And that's sad. I mean, you have it with a lot of products these days. And not to talk this product down, this is an amazing product, and it's some amazing customer service that comes with this, because I have never had it that I didn't get in touch with these guys, or that they never answer me anything. You know, like I could try different phone numbers. I could try different phones itself. I could try phones that don't have ID. They always answered. You know, don't get me wrong. They have a lot of good things, but for $2,000, I expect a tad little bit more to be more able to be confident to fly this drone. The confidence is what bothers me the most. I can take out my Paradigm Offie, which is a $500 drone. And $500 is a lot of money for a lot of people, especially in these times, especially after this chaos of 2020. That's a lot of money. And I'm confident, though. I can take it out even without a phone, and I can just fly her, and I know she'll do what I want her to do. While this bird, on the other hand, I'm partially confident, up to like 70% maybe. 70, I give it 80%. 80% I'm confident she will film what I want. If I'm out in the open, if I'm wherever. As soon as it comes to the closer object kind of style, it gives me hassle, because now she like, we're off, obstacle avoidance is on, and she wants to swerve, or she wants to swerve into the obstacle. That's bad, guys. That kind of stuff no can happen, Autel. Come on, get your stuff together. Calibrations, you're prompted to do calibrations. It's suggested by manual and by their notes, their patch notes, that after every firmware update, it's good to do a calibration. And I do, and I'll follow through with it. Okay, these guys, they tell me they should know what they're doing. And I'll go for it, and it's, bruh, really? You're not even letting me finish my calibrations? My gimbal is stuck on can't calibrate. What is great, though, on 0.18 is the error messages. You don't have constantly the error message popping up, which was totally annoying, like ADI mode, or no GPS, or GPS signal weak, or obstacle, or low light, and those messages just kept popping in constant. That is gone. That's a really, really, really good thing. Totally love it. The other part is they had the activation going on, and the one-time activation for the drone itself had to do with that you are capable of getting the care plan now. So they pretty much jumped onto that stuff. I haven't been able to really look into the care plan, what it covers and all that stuff. So, but if it's a care plan, and I think it costs like $250 or $300, that's a lot of money on top of that $2,000 already of this drone. I mean, it's not $2,000 anymore. I keep referring it as a 2K drone, but there are deals out there right now for the Pro. I think during Christmas with that Amazon deal, it went down as low as like $1,500 or $1,400. There was a code for it, and then you could get one battery and stuff for it as well. And a lot of people jumped on it. So there's a lot of people right now that bought this drone based on that stuff. And then there's now tax return coming up and another stimulus check. And I guarantee you that there's a lot of other people that are going to be jumping onto this drone. And don't get me wrong, they're not going to make a mistake. This drone is amazing. This drone is really great. But it has those small kinks and things that need to be worked out, and that can cost you your drone. I have no problem with nicks and things. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong with that. But if they can cost you your bird, that's bad. That's something that I want to point out. And that's the only reason why I make this live stream, based on this 0.18 update. That is bad. That's, if it can cost me my drone, or it can cost me my bird, They shouldn't release it. You know what I mean? They should do extensive testing. They should have maybe people out there, maybe even people like me, people like Hotrod, people like that constantly fly this bird and constantly do this stuff, and they need to listen to these people, because we do the craziest things with our stuff, and we're gonna know if something is off because we constantly using this bird. And if Autel does not pay attention to it, they're gonna lose a lot of future customers that they could have pulled in if they would have gotten their stuff right off the bat. So let's see. Walter says, I will admit, DJI does much more solid firmware updates. Yes, they do. They have a lot, but when they do, it's not going to be that the bird is going to fall out of the sky, you know, and that's the part that I'm referring to on this. Hotrod, you're giving me reasons to buy a second one. I'm actually saving up money right now. I'm almost halfway there, and I was debating if I should pick me up a second one. Not quite sure if it makes sense for me, or if I should wait for something else based on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel in the development phase right now has evolved, and these last videos that I pumped out, like the docu style that I did, I had so many positive responses on it, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys' continued support. And it's right now at that point that with the views and all that stuff that goes through, that my channel is almost capable of financing itself, including YouTube Premium, including small nicks and things here and there that I'll buy, like the filters. Yeah, the filters I'm waiting for too. I'm waiting for the Autel filters. They're supposed to be here by Wednesday. So as soon as they come in, I'm going to pump out a video where I'm going to be comparing the Skyread, Autel, and the Freewell filters all next to each other. So same settings, but 3 different filters. 3 different brands of filters, but same type of filter, ND4, ND8, ND16, and 32 I'm going to do. 64 I'm not going to do because not everybody had a 64. And I'm going to just throw the comparison in there, and then you guys going to see what the difference is, because I'm not going to change the settings. I'm not going to do anything in post. The footage is going to be perfect for that. So yeah, so the channel is pretty much almost there that it's financing itself. So that's a good thing. So, but that's one of the reasons why I'm doing all these videos, and that's why I also do all this stuff. So, but I'm almost halfway there to buy me another Autel, and I actually was thinking of picking up the 8K so I can make more videos about 8K and 6K, but I'm not quite sure right now. Not with this 0.18. Since the 0.18 update, I was kind of, I don't know, I was kind of mad, to be honest. So what else do we have here? We have Julio says, well, we'll fly the Mini 2 for now, not updating the Evo now. Do I have to? You don't have to. Right now, 0.18, if anybody asks, the 0.18 in my eyes is not a must update that you should be doing, simply because you don't have to. I mean, yeah, it has the activation and stuff in there, but the activation, the one-time activation, technically seems to be more like a thing where they know how many of their birds are up in the air and how many people are updated to 0.18. And also who want to do that whole care package. So with the activation, I think it's going to collect more data, and it's going to collect more of your flying time. It's going to collect more of what you do with your drone. So they're going to be able to determine what had happened in the past, in case, you know, when you crash the drone and then all of a sudden you have to submit all these telemetry data, and you have to submit all these other flight logs and all that stuff, so that they're going to know already, based on that you activated it, because everything was recorded based on their servers. That's what I think this whole activation was about. I wasn't able to read into the patch notes at the time of the activation notes either, because I was busy reading about the FAA ruling for the new remote ID thing. But I think that's what that activation is for. So if you didn't update yet to 0.18, you don't have to. It's not a must. So just leave your Autel Explorer app on the latest, on the last version. So it's not going to ask you to activate your drone. Right now, I think we stay on the drone itself. Update-wise, it's 2.5.18. And on the Autel Explorer app, the current version right now is 1.1.7.19, I think. Yeah, I think so. Because if you don't update your Autel Explorer app, but you update the 2.5.18, your controller will constantly tell you to connect the app to activate your drone, even though you activated it on the app prior, because the Autel Explorer app is not on the latest firmware on itself, 1.1.7.19. The controller will constantly tell you, please activate your drone. So I had a viewer of mine that I called up because he texted me and he was really frustrated. So I called him up and I helped him out, ran him through the whole stuff, and I told him, okay, try this, try that, and then we figured out afterwards that he forgot to update his Autel Explorer app. So that's one thing. So you should always look first into the patch notes if you can, or of course check on my channel. I might have it up already at that time. If a new Autel Explorer app version is out, update that first and then do the update to the drone if you wish to do so. But as of this point, 0.18 is not a must. In my eyes, it's not a must. I shouldn't have updated, then I still would be flying right now. It's been a beautiful day today. I could have had some flying time before I come here, but man. So I'm like totally far behind with this freaking chat right now. You guys are blowing it up. That's another thing that I noticed. Like there's a lot more people on my chat. There's a lot of people that constantly text me, and yeah, it's crazy. So Hotrod said over here 1,595. That was, I guess that was the deal that was going on at that time with the Amazon deal. And yes, $2,000 should buy you. It's $1,495 at B&H at the moment. Okay, so Ironclad said I got mine for less than that, so that's really good. You know, that's really good if you can go below that $2,000 stuff. And then we have Michael. Yes, $2,000 should buy me add few problems as possible, especially if I'm using the drone. Earn a live. I'm stuck. I'm lost. Sorry. Walter said Autel needs to hire a DJI software engineer. No, I don't think so. I think they just got to work harder on their stuff. And like I said before, I think they should listen to their beta testers. So they should have literally people out there as beta testers that run the stuff for them and give them direct feedback, like literally like on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like Hotrod was doing that with me at some point. He was running a beta, I think it was the 2.33. And he constantly was sending me emails and telling me what is different in that beta already and what we to expect in the update. And I was like, that sounds really good. So Julio says, great idea on the NDs. Yes, thank you very much. I'll be working on that. And then Robert Markovic says 8K runs and 6K died. Oh no. I always hate when I hear that somebody's drone died or crashed or whatever. I mean, it's always crappy because it's a lot of money. Hotrod says, I have a new app, old firmware, and it's fine. Oh, okay. So you have the newest app, but the old firmware, so it's still working fine. So apparently, according to Hotrod, you can do that. You can update your Autel Explorer app, but don't update to 2.518. Julio Morales says, thank you for taking the first step. I always will take the first step for you guys. You know that. And it won't, Lee Beasing says, and it won't let you take off until you activate it. That's what happened to me on December 28th. See, so if you don't activate the stuff, you can't take off, and that's the bad part. So I hope Autel is watching this. I hope so too. I literally do. Timothy Miller, what's up, my man? How you doing? Dropping by to show my love, brother. God bless, and I will be back later to watch the full video. Talk to you soon. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you guys and your continued support. I mean, we just literally blew up like 1,450. 2,450 subscribers. Like it blew up like 60 or 70 subscribers just with the last 2 uploads. And I was like, holy, what happened there? Robert Hernandez says, at Ironclad Patriot, lucky you, I paid $1,800 for mine. Came with an extra battery and the shoulder bag, though. Got it from Beach, same-day shipping. Yes. Still waiting on the panorama modes. Yeah, there's a few modes that I really want to see that they should implement. It's kind of too basic. The modes that they have, the intelligent flight modes they have at this point, like the smart orbit and all that stuff. Yeah, it's great, but and then they added on this new mission mode. But not everybody is using this stuff for industrial stuff. There's a lot of hobbyists out there that just want to do it for get some great footage, and they end up not being able to utilize really good modes. Like, what about a dolly mode? You know what I mean? I mean, a small drone like the Parrot and Offie can do a dolly mode, so how come Autel cannot? You know what I mean? I mean, it's like 2 different worlds, these 2 drones, and sometimes it's more fun flying that small guy right here than being stuck with this big guy who can't do nothing because it's grounded. So we have Batuna right here. How are you, Makaiki? You, oh, my brother. What's up, Batuna? How you doing, my man? Arizona Drone Dude says, aloha, aloha back to you. And Betuna said, had some time to come visit you on live stream. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Alan says, I bought my drone right before the prices started to drop. Still loving the drone anyways. Oh, I hate that. I totally hate that. I'm trying to remember when that happened to me. There was a product that I wanted, and I just literally bought it, and then it just dropped in price, like half price, like 50%. I was like, and you guys couldn't tell me that like 2 weeks later, you know, like, it's crazy. I forget already what it was, but it was something. Oh, it was my camera right here, the camera that I'm filming right now. It was the A6400. It took me a long time to research for it, and I wanted it, and I was like, I was debating about it, and it was out on the market already for like 6 months. I literally bought it for the full price, which is like $1,200, which included like a prime lens and one another regular standard, the kit lens, whatever. And I ordered another lens on top of that, so I spent like $2,000 just to get started with this whole APS-C thing. And 2 weeks later, they come up with the A6400 and the 6500, which had in-body image stabilization, and my 6400 didn't. And it was like the same price for what I just paid for the 6400. And it was like, wow, Sony, you just did that to me. So yeah, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that happens to. So Ironclad says, order spotlight mode on the Mavic Air 2. I love that. Yeah, I don't have a Mavic Air 2, so I don't really. The only thing that I have right now is the DJI Mavic Mini, and that one's the only one with which I can compare to. But even the Mini has some really, really cool intelligent flight modes that I would love to see on this bird. You know what I mean? I don't know what they have to do in engineering or development to match that all up and to make it all work, and because it's size-wise and all that stuff, and I don't know what they have to do, but Autel really has to do something about it. They're falling behind in my eyes. 6 months in, you should have already added like 3 or 4 different type of flight modes, intelligent flight modes that are exciting, so that you can pump out another advertisement and say, this drone can do all these things. I mean, it's a marketing thing. You know what I mean? You want to get your product up to par, then you should at least be able to pump out certain things that other companies have, such as DJI and such as, I don't know what else. There's not really a direct competitor anymore right now, except for DJI against the Autel, because the DJI has the Mavic Air 2, which was an amazing drone for 2020, and it has the Mavic Air 2 Pro, or the Zoom, which has really, really good image quality, and also a 1-inch sensor, so don't get me wrong. So your Dotson, well, because you're genuine, no bullshit. Yeah, well, I'm always gonna be honest about it. I don't have no reason not to be honest about this. I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm trying to help you not to buy anything that is rubbish, you know. Hotrod says optical zoom camera. Yes, that has been on our wish list since day one, I think. I think it was like the first 2 live streams that Hotrod came up with that optical zoom. And it's been going around in my head forever that they should bring out a gimbal that is a little bit bigger, an attachment for this. Because like I said, the good part about this Autel Evo 2 is that you have this bird and you can just change out the gimbal itself to have different type of cameras, 8K, a dual with the flare, and it's great. Thermal camera you can add onto this. It's amazing, and it's just one body. So that means it's going to be all the batteries that you have, that one body, and you can just pop on another gimbal if you need to. So if you're out in the field for like search and rescue, you're looking around with your 6K or your 8K to have a bigger field of view. Looking around, I cannot see nothing. Then you switch it over, you bring the bird down, you pop in a new battery, and you bring out the freaking thermal camera, and it's great. It's awesome. It's amazing. I mean, they have so much good things for this. And the same with the life deck. The life deck is a super cool function. I just ran into somebody on the other side of the island who had the life deck, and he had it set up in the back of his car. And the trunk was open, and there was a huge 27-inch screen. And it's it's a great experience to just see that an Autel life deck is set up just with a screen, so I could see what he was flying around, but I didn't have to look over his shoulder or stand right next to him and make him, I don't know, nervous or whatever. And I really like that life deck stuff. So I was actually tempted to buy one, but the $500, I'm going to save it up for something that might be good to do a review on and to share with you guys afterwards. That is more productivity than just picking up a life deck and then just adding it on, because I don't see much video material in it. So yeah. So much to 2.5.18. They need to fix that. Those calibrations need to work properly, and that stability-wise, that she's not as stable in the air. That's terrible. They need to fix that. Definitely, they need to fix that. Batuna said, just FYI, yesterday I installed the low noise propellers from AliExpress. Did not hear any significant difference. Yeah, I'm working on a video on that one right now. The problem is I don't have it on right now. I had them on this morning. Then I wanted to take her out for a flight, but then I decided not to because I wanted to ground her because of this whole wearing stuff. And all of a sudden, you look at this, and the propellers don't fit with this mount because they are wider, and it didn't fit into my GPC case. So it's like, oh, they changed it. So it has like more fat ones over there. The one thing that I noticed though is that the takeoff is like super fast. Godzilla, my man, $9.99. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you as well. I deeply appreciate you guys' donation. It's not necessarily, but it's deeply appreciated, and I really appreciate all of you guys. So there's a significant power to it that came to it with those new propellers. She takes off like really quick. Like you arm this sucker and then you press the up stick, and before she used to go up and then she could go up. Now with those low noise props, it's like wow, she takes off like really fast. I'm like, whoo. I could hear that she's a little bit more quiet if she's more like in a 150-foot area. Before I used to be able to hear this like really bad if I adjust forward backwards. The low noise props are a little bit different, a little bit quieter, but it's a bright orange bird in the air. Everybody's gonna see it anyway. So, but I'm working on a video on that one right now for you guys. So I'm gonna pop that out too. I have popped out a lot of videos over the last couple of days that I just wanted to get done. So that was a good part. What else do we have here? I use the life deck and DJI goggles to fly the Evo 2 Pro. Pretty awesome. You can do that? Oh yeah, it's FPV mode, yeah? You get the FPV stuff. Yeah, that's right. Then it locks the gimbal in and you can go. Wow, I wasn't never a really big fan of this FPV mode thing for my drone because I tried it with this one, the panorama, and I went into that FPV mode and I forgot that when you look down that the drone is going down too. I shredded a panorama because of that, so I'm not quite sure if I like do that with this. It might end up really bad. New props seem much quieter. Only if you like further away. Like if you're close to you, you still can hear it. You know what I mean? It's like love the low noise props. Can't hear it above 150. Yeah, so that's one thing that I noticed. As soon as you go over like 100, 150, it's barely noticeable. But which is sometimes a bad thing too, because if you just look down one time to your screen and you like look back up and then where did it go? So you need a visual observer. So we have Jedediah K. Happy New Year, brother. Awesome fireworks footage. Crazy how stable new props. Yes. Thank you very much for swinging by and your continued support, my friend. And we have Ironclad. Even Master Air Prop doesn't provide propellers for this drone. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's been 6 months and we had COVID-19 going on, developmental stages and all that stuff. There's a lot more accessories that will be coming out for this. The most important parts for this accessories though is the SD cards. Make sure that you get yourself a V60, V90 because the writing speed, I had to revert back to the regular class 3 kind of thing, which is the SanDisk Extreme, whatever it has, like up to like 100 megabits per second writing speed, and it wasn't doing it for me. Like I literally had to pick up a couple more V60s since I lost my other one because it was so cold. And yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it for 0.18 update. And man, I tell you that they need to fix that. I'm really mad at them right now, and I'm probably gonna call them back tomorrow. And oh no, not tomorrow, by Monday. My days off I like kind of screwed up because I'm off since whatever. So, but I'm gonna call them back and I'm gonna tell them that I still cannot calibrate my gimbal. It's not really a biggie, but what bothers me is that whole wearing off thing when I stay closer to objects, and I don't like that at all. So I'm not a big fan of that. So Another part that was very, very important this year was the FAA rules were finalized. Finally, um, they finally came out with that whole remote ID thing. I popped out a video last night about it, and when you look at it, there is a lot more stuff that came out about this whole thing, which is the remote identification for unmanned aircraft systems. The way you're going to be able to meet those criteria, there's three different ways. One of them will be drone remote identification, drone broadcast remote ID information via radio frequency or Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which means that it is already remote ID capability is built into the drone. That's one of those things. So that's going to be within those 18 months that these people are going to have, where it is because the thing was that people didn't know when it's going to take effect. I was one of those people. I was like, when I started reading the documentation, and I was like, when does it even kick in? So it kicks in at the end of this month is the Federal Registry when it gets published in there. From there on out, it's going to be 60 days until it becomes active. Within that activity, right after the activity, it gives manufacturers 18 months to come up with ideas to implement remote ID into either their remote control or into their drones, propose those, and have them approved by FAA engineers or however they do it. After those 18 months, you're going to have another whole year, okay, another 12 months on top of that, to give you the opportunity for other people who do not have, like us right now, we don't have any remote ID in this drone. We don't have any remote ID in this controller. So it's going to give you the option 1 year after that to come up for the manufacturers, which might be any type of manufacturer. It can be anybody who's smart enough to come up with a device for remote IDs, such a small chip, a small device, something that you can attach to your drone, whatever it is. I've seen on one of the forum posts, I think on Facebook, it was one of the Autel groups, somebody posted something over there. It's called something Remote ID Mobile. It's another small device which pops onto the bird up here, which pops onto the bird up here on the top somehow, and then it will be the remote ID device to make this drone capable of being a remote ID. Remote ID, what it actually does, it gives you as the owner and operator and the drone itself, it gives it a digital license plate. So it tells the FAA or whoever is in the surrounding area where you took off from, where you currently, where are you going, where you headed, and where you will be landing. The reason for that, I think, is because they're afraid of terroristic attacks with the help of drones, which still not going to change that. You know what I mean? It's like telling everybody I'm going to take away all your bombs, and they're still going to find a way to do it, you know? And that's pretty much the same thing. So another way of doing it is that pretty much that what I just explained to you guys, which is right here, drone remote, drones with remote ID broadcast module. That's what that is called. So it's that module. It can be a tablet. It can be a cell phone. That's why I'm thinking if they're giving these guys 3 freaking years to come up with an ID with an idea for make these things compatible with the expectations and the new regulations to make it up to par, follow up with it. I'm pretty sure that those chips are going to be tiny. So it's not going to be a huge device hanging onto your stuff. And they have to also take into consideration all these hobbyists. There's a lot of passionate guys out there that build their own planes, that build their own drones, that build their own, they are all UAS. So all those guys have to put in an extra device to fall within the rules and regulations of the FAA to be legal. And no, Pocho, what are you doing? Pocho on a loose sent me just a $19.99 super sticker. I deeply appreciate it, my friend. I really do. You guys killing me with this. Pocho says, mahalo for all you do. Gotta hit it back to work. All right, my man, you take it easy. Have a good day at work. Happy New Year to you. And Hotrod says, Bluetooth chips are tiny, can be made really small. See? And that's the thing about it. Remote ID-wise, that can be really small. Then you have the new FRIA, which are recognized identification areas, which are areas flown of drones without the remote ID, and drones without remote ID can operate without broadcasting. So those areas, though, drones without remote ID must operate within visual line of sight and within the FAA, so which is that area that they can fly. But anyone can fly there, but FRIAs can only be requested by community-based organizations and educational institutions. Based on that statement, I think there's going to be a lot of drone clubs that are going to come up, that going to get registered, and that become part of that community stuff, that they are an official RC drone club, and that they're going to be able to request for those FRIA areas to be flown at, so that they don't have to have those remote ID chips. It will be just in that area right there, so it's not going to be like us, where it's like, oh, where am I going to go? Or you're driving somewhere down the road and you're like, oh, look at that bridge, I got to film that with a drone. And you're looking at your air map, air data map, and you're going to look at it and it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm within my specs, or I need to inquire permission. Those FRIAs are excluded from that, but they are only for educational, such as universities, schools, and whatnot. Anybody who has to do with it. For an example, it might be even a school that has an RC club in there, and they're going to request, oh, can we use this small area in the back of our school? And it's going to become an FRIA, but only the school can fly there, or the people who are connected with it. Everybody else still can get in trouble. So be careful about that. Hotrod says, how's the promotion going? Which promotion? Oh, my promotion. Oh, I still have to wait. Yeah, I took the test. That's work promotion wise for those of you guys who don't know. I took a test to become a sergeant. So they told me it's going to be up to 80 days. So that's like the end of January. So by then I should know more. But I'll keep you guys updated. I always do. Julio Morales says, just like everyone is scared being in the streets, cops are not there when you need them. Yeah, well, it depends on where you live. We have a lot of police officers around here. But like I said, it's this whole remote ID thing. I think a lot of people overreacted. I was one of them. And we just didn't know what to expect. Everybody was like, oh no, they're going to know where I'm at all the time. You're going to have that one guy who's going to deactivate the stuff, and it's going to help PD or like the police or law enforcement or even rangers and stuff. They're going to look up. They're going to see a drone up there. If they do have the longitude, latitude area in that, they're going to be probably able to go and contact the FAA and say, hey, this is my position at this point. Is there any authorized air traffic going on with drones? And I think that's what that is all about, that they're going to be able to say, yep, that kid is over there and he requested for permission and he's legally to be there. It's going to be good for us at some point. If we stay legal, then the cops can come and or the rangers can come and say, hey, you're not supposed to fly here. And it's like, says who? I got permission right here. I get remote ID and all this stuff. Everything is legal. Everything is up to par and it's up to date right at this very moment. So it's going to be good for us. And then it's going to be bad because certain areas when we really want to fly it, and we all did that. I'm one of them. I'm not going to lie. I'm one of them. I flew in areas where it says no fly zone. And I just went barely over the crown of the trees, and I still filmed in that area because it just looks so much different if you fly from the air. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, if you want to fly a drone, you want to fly a drone because you get that certain perspective. It's a perspective that you don't get anywhere else. It's not like you can climb up to the tree and then do it. It looks different from a drone, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys can relate to that. You know, but it's going to be bad for us if we get caught in those areas, because now the police or law enforcement or whoever it is going to be able to tell, hey, you flew in there, you're going to get a ticket. You know, that's the only bad part. It's a two-edged sword, but it kind of like keeps us limited. And I think the reason why they did all this stuff was because of the announcement with Amazon going for package deliveries. I mean, we are moving forward in the world, and it's always about the better, newer things, and that big companies want to come up with stuff and want to say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is, you know, this is where we're going to go headed with this, and we want to have alleviation of traffic from regular roads with our delivery trucks. They're going to save money with it. It's going to take away some driver jobs. You know what I mean? You know how it goes. It's always like that. Back then was the factories that was creating cars. All of a sudden there was robots that was putting the cars together. And you're going to have the same thing with this whole drone thing. But remote ID can be a good thing based on the whole life update status kind of thing. You know, you're not gonna run into that problem where, I mean, if you're still gonna fly it without permission, you know, the question will for me will be though, if manufacturers come up with this whole devices that are implemented inside of your thing, will the FAA be able to determine, hey, this is it, and then pull the plug, and then you're not gonna be able to take off, or will it still be up to yourself, like Autel does, without the geofencing? They're still gonna tell you when you turn off certain things, or like for an example, the height restriction. If I go 401 on my feet, or if I go 1,000 feet and I punch it in, Autel gives you a message right there and says you are within the USA at this point, and FAA regulation states not to go over 400 feet. It's up to you to not screw this up. This is on you, not on us. The question will be with this whole remote ID thing, will it automatically restrict everything to 400 feet? Will it automatically prevent you of taking off? Will it automatically even shut off your drone if you end up entering a no-fly zone? You know, that's going to be the question. Will it land right off the bat? Because I heard somewhere, some people said that if you come closer to a stadium and you're flying closer to a stadium, and you're flying over a stadium, that the drone lands. And I believe that. I mean, me personally, I'm not going to try it, you know. But as far as I read it, you can fly around stadiums as long as they're empty, you know, and as long as you have permission, as long as you're in the right airspace. Because I see some shots from people flying around stadiums. They're probably not flying directly over it, but they go around it. And I mean, who doesn't want to have that helicopter broadcast shot that you usually see on Sunday Night Football? You know what I mean? You want to have some great footage. That's what I said. That's the passion about this with these GPS quads, that you can get certain type of footage that you cannot get anywhere else in the world unless you rent a freaking helicopter and you get yourself an Alexa camera and you're sitting out there and flying it. I ain't finding a helicopter who can carry my big butt around. So what else do we have? If the police can't find the bad guys on the ground, you think they can find the drones in the air? You have a lot of confidence in the police force, don't you? Remote ID is going to help them find them. Hotrod says cops have enough to do. They won't be drone police. Not even something they want to do now. Yeah, I have to admit though, when I talk to a few officers and I talk story with them and I tell them all about the drone, I had an officer approach me at some point and he was looking up and he said, "Are you flying a drone?" And I told him, "Yeah." And then he actually ended up inquiring about it because he was interested about it. He wasn't really mad about it that I was flying it there, but then he just simply asked what my purpose was and stuff. And I have no problem sharing that. I tell him, "Oh, I'm taking some great pictures of the neighbor next door." And no, of course I didn't say that, but I just simply told him, "Oh, I'm filming you. You want to look?" And then I show him the screen. I have nothing to hide. You know, I'm not going to be that one guy who's going to fly into an LAPD chopper. But remote ID is going to make it easier for them in case of crisis or in case of certain areas. Like, you're not supposed to fly when there's an emergency area. I hope all of you guys know that. But I have seen a couple when I had accidents up there on my main road, and all of a sudden I look up and I see like a Mavic Air flying through the air, and I'm like, dude, you're not supposed to be there. And that's bad. You know, you're always going to have that one guy, and it's going to screw it up for the rest of us who's trying to stay within the limits. You know, I have no problem of abiding by the laws and abiding by the rules and all that stuff. And like I said, we all stepped above that once in a while. I flew this drone at some point 2,000 feet, and I could have gotten really in trouble for it, not knowing that because at that point I didn't know. And I was like, wait, what? You cannot, oh. And then I realized, oh, I have to educate myself, because not knowing will not prevent you of getting in trouble. Okay? Don't forget that now. So Baba Joe says, I don't think the local law enforcement will prioritize drone policing. They have enough to keep them busy. They will mostly be on the lookout during TFRs. Yes, that's what I think so too. Jake's Drone Life, what's up, my man? How you doing? How you doing? Your stuff should be on the way in just a little bit. I had a lot of stuff to do. I'm sorry I didn't get to send out your stuff yet. And I will do it as soon as this next week come up. I'm really, really, really sorry. Jake said, I'm going to become a drone rebel. That was no joking. Hey, we all have this rebel thing going on at some point. I promise you. Hotrod says, the cops are on our side if you're honest with them. Yes, they are. It's the same like when you get pulled over. You know, if I going 75 miles an hour, freaking 55 miles an hour, and I see the blue lights behind me, I'll pull over. I roll down my windows and I just wait there, and I'm like, I screwed up, and I'm honest about it. And then he walks up, oh, hello, sir. Do you know why I pulled you over? And I look at him and say, yeah, because I was going too fast. I'm really sorry. And then he's gonna tell me, give me your driver's license registration. I give it to him. I have no problem. I'll just give it straight to him. Like, I'm sorry, and I just give it to him. And then as soon as he comes back, you are getting away with a warning, because you don't have no pride. Thank you. As long as you're nice, what I mean. They're humans too. I mean, there's cops that are really, really bad guys. You know what I mean? But most of these guys, 99.9% that I met, they're really cool. Even with drones, I ran a couple guys, and it's like, oh, we got a call from the neighbor said that he was flying in front of a window. It really happened to me, and I said, why would I fly in front of a window? I have this beautiful sunset. So why would I be right there looking into a window? That makes no sense at all. And he started laughing, and they were cool with it. I showed him my ID, and I showed him my registration, and I showed him my 107 and all that. And I told him, I'm licensed. I can do all this stuff. You know what I mean? I'm allowed to be here. And I showed him my air data map. And I told him, this is how high I can go here. And prior to that, I inquired permission. So I got all these things done. You know what I mean? So, Bad Tuna, what are you doing, Bad Tuna? Mahalo, brah. Always love your videos. Gotta hit it on. Thank you very much, Bad Tuna. I appreciate it. And the cops were really cool about it. And it was like, oh, okay. So they didn't even understand because they didn't know. And they will get educated, I think, at some point. They will have to look into it. And I mean, bigger cities and stuff. I mean, this is Hawaii. We're kind of like, backdoor alley kind. And sometimes police officers don't know, but there might be always this one cop that you run into, and he might be a drone enthusiast himself, and he's going to know if you're supposed to be there or not. And then he can actually nail you for it, and don't cry after, and plus remote ID guarantee is going to record everything that you will be doing. That's another thing. And I mean, we all seen what happened to that one YouTube creator that got nailed with $180,000. And that was after the fact. All those things were after the fact. They were investigating it. They was going for it. And they said, you messed up. And they nailed him. And he's going through a lot of hassle for that right now. And that's really, I feel bad for the guy. And it could happen to anybody, not necessarily to those guys who are not YouTube content creators like I am, I mean, to who are not YouTube content creators like I am, or he is, or all these other content creators that utilize drones. But it can hit a lot of people, even not knowing, because the FAA can inquire afterwards, because this is a digital license plate, and if that license plate will be identified with you. The one thing they have to consider, though, is, did you operate that stuff? When it really does go to court, it's the same with the vehicle. Somebody's seen the vehicle committing the crime, but nobody's seen the driver. So now if you find the owner of the vehicle, and the owner been home and said, no, my drone was stolen like 2 weeks ago, what then? There's a lot of openings in that whole stuff. There's some things that you have to take in consideration where it's not really sure about that whole remote ID stuff. It's what can they prove? It's not what you know, it's what you can prove in court, remember? Julio says, I'm retired DHS, cop family. Yeah, I'm law enforcement family too. Ironclad says, from my understanding, it sounds like it's going to be a red light traffic camera. They'll simply send you a ticket in the mail. Like I said, they can. The question is, how far will it go? Like I said before, you're probably going to be able to fight it when you say, hey, I didn't touch my drone. It might be up to them that they have to prove that you operated that UAS. And then the question will be, oh, if you didn't operate it, like, it's still your UAS. Yeah, but I didn't operate it. Maybe my son took it out while I was at work. You have to prove that you wasn't there. You might have to come with an alibi. If you come with an alibi, now they have to determine who was operating your drone. And could have been anybody, because it's accessible to anybody. There's a lot of loopholes in that whole stuff that people have to look into. Not stating that you can be criminalized or you can do criminal activities with it. And I think that's what they're trying to cut down. They were afraid of people using drones as weapons or spy material or whatever. I mean, look at it this way. These days, when you go for like those fanatic states, there's some states that are really, really, really serious about their football program. You fly a drone there, and you're not a fan of the team, you're in deep crap right there, because those guys are gonna hunt your ass down, because they're gonna come for you and they're gonna say, "What are you doing?" And they're gonna expect from you that you are there to spy on their practice drills so that you can come up with stuff. That's one thing, and that's another thing why they might have come up with that. So let's see. We have Babayo said it would have been cool though if the FAA had given us at least a 200 feet ceiling though without the remote. I agree with that. I do agree with that. It would have been cool, but activate or non-activate, then it comes into too much detail. They just generalize the whole thing and they said this is how it's gonna be. So Lee basically said, but he was stupid and he put all the video proof on his YouTube channel, then bragged about it. Yeah, like I said, I'm not here to judge the person. I'm never here to judge anybody, and I won't ever do that. You know what I mean? It happened to him, and I feel bad for him. Hotrod, the rules will be adjusted by the time it comes into effect. Yes, they still have 3 years to think about this whole stuff, and they hopefully going to be watching channels like Original Dobo who talk about it. They had, I think his name is Lafayette. He's a lawyer. He's an attorney for that whole drone thing, and he's really, really, that guy got to be the smartest guy about drone rules that I've ever seen, and he's really, really smart. Hotrod, the big issue right now is needing 107 to post on YouTube. It's not really an issue. If you are capable of flying the drone, if you're capable of creating a YouTube channel, if you're capable of drawing in enough people with a YouTube channel to get monetized, you should have thought about that during that time to use that to get your 107. To get to be monetized on YouTube, that is a huge step. Let me tell you, that was hard work for me. It's consistency. It's not like that you can just come up with a YouTube channel and say, hey, next week I'm going to be monetized. It's not going to work that way, especially not if you're in a drone field. If you do like me, like drone reviews and gear reviews and all that stuff, it's not going to be easy like that. So there was a lot of time to consider to get yourself a Part 107 if you wanted it or not, to be honest. So Skydog says, I am a pilot, SEL instrument rated 25 plus years and a drone pilot. I feel we will all be fine together in a proper airspace. And I think so too, because it's new rules that came up. It's the same like back then, all the smokers. I'm a smoker. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, you cannot smoke in public places no more, public access places. You cannot smoke in a bar no more. Everybody was mad about that back then in 2009 or 2010, whenever it happened. It's normal now, and it's the same with 2019. Everybody's supposed to be wearing a mask. And what? Everybody wearing a mask now, I mean, it's still, you have the one or two people that are mad about it, and you have the Karens that want to get in a store without it. It's the new norm, and it's things that is going to happen. You know what I mean? It's what people do. Lee basically said, but how far is this radio signal going to reach, and how is it going to be monitored? Think about the little cheap FRS radios. They can only reach out about a mile. Yes, and I think that's why those remote ID things, I think that's where they come into place. If you fly like close to airports and all that stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm not quite sure. That is a good question, actually, because I haven't really thought about that. But that's why one of their things was to have it broadcasted. So the broadcast, because most devices, when you fly these, are your cell phone. Your cell phone is going to be a broadcast, because if you can run a live stream from this during the time while you're out in the field, means that you have internet, you have data plan. With that data plan, that might be your remote ID transaction to go out to transmit all the data that they want. Would it be an air ticket? You mean they're sending it by mail in the air, or no? I mean, it might be like a ticket that is based on that. Like the other person said, they just send it to you via mail. But not quite sure if they can enforce that, because as far as I know, traffic violations and stuff, they're criminal acts. If they haven't criminalized this part yet, besides the federal air regulations, by violating it, going over 400 feet and stuff, I think as long as that's not the case, I don't think that they're going to be able to do so. But that's why you have the federal rules in place, and that's why usually you're supposed to know what you're doing when you pick up one of these. If the radio signal is too strong, it's likely to cause interference with the operation of the drone, and then who's going to receive it if we're out in the middle of nowhere? If we're out in the middle of nowhere, I think that's where that whole cell phone thing comes in. I don't think the FAA's budget will be expanded to put in a network of receivers every 3 to 5 miles, especially in low population density areas. They won't. They're not going to go the extra step to go and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put up towers. They're not going to be like that. I think they're going to utilize that whole cell phone stuff. My sleep apnea machine, for an example, can transmit these days just like a cell phone. It transmits data from me sleeping, you know, and if that can do it, that remote ID can do it too. Lon, what's up, Lon? It's not necessary to broadcast over the internet. Long range isn't necessary. See, that's Lon is another very, very, very knowledgeable person, just like Hotrod and all these guys. And like I said, that whole remote thing, I think it just goes through your cell phone. You know, it goes through the devices that you utilize to fly these. And if they have regular data plan on board and location and all that stuff, you're going to be transferring it to that. And remote ID, I think, is just like a flight log that can be uploaded afterwards, after the fact, when you're done with everything. And that's pretty much what that whole transmission thing comes into place with, you know. John F. said if they're using the phone, yep, see, just like me. If they're using the phone's data plan for the remote ID, what's to stop someone from finding where we are flying from? Well, that is the whole point in that whole freaking remote ID thing, because you put on your location and stuff, you know. They just want to know where this bird is at that time, and then it's not going to stop them at all to tell where you're at, especially because you still have to fly visual line of sight, you know. Sounds like 5G is involved. 5G conspiracy, huh? Lon said the point is that if something potentially shady is going on, a person or authority figure can get your ID number, location, etc. And that's what I think it is for. Most of the time, like I told you guys before, is if that remote ID, because like Autel gives you the option to fly wherever you want. That's up to you though. If you're in an area you're not supposed to be flying in, they can hold you accountable for it. And that's, I think, is what they're trying to do with that whole thing. And that wraps it up for today. We are already over 1 hour, and I had an amazing, amazing time with you guys. I really, really love interacting with you guys. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna try pulling some special guests this year, and I contacted a few people already. I think sometimes I'm just reaching out too far up high. But it's just because I follow those people on YouTube, and I really would like to have them here. Of course, they're busy people, and Hawaii time is always kind of bad. So I'm going to pull up one last comment right here, right? But I don't want average Joe using his phone and app tracking me to where I'm landing, where I'm flying, where I am and flying from. True. It's true. Okay, one more. Not sure if it's been said, but your remote ID should only be to be seen by the proper authorities. Otherwise, it could invite the wrong attention, be it Karens or Thrives. And I think that's what it's going to be at. Because if your phone is going to be accessible in general when you're flying a drone, and they're going to be able to tell where you're at, then your phone is not secure to begin with. But most of the time, if you don't share that location stuff, or if your phone is pretty much safe, and if you don't catch anything that people are going to be able to trace you, who are not supposed to be tracing you, then you should be fine. You know, it's like I said, it's up to the authorities. And it's pretty much, if something crabby or shady is going on, they just want to know. They want to be able to give you a fine or find out who you are and what your intentions are. And that's pretty much, most of the time, it's the key to them. They just want to be able to know what your intent is. And that's why remote ID was considered in the first place. But I like the way it came out, especially because they didn't require you for you to have internet access anymore. Because if that would have been the case, it would have created a lot of black spots, because there's a lot of remote areas. There's nobody. There's no internet. For God's sake, you don't even get freaking cell phone reception. You know what I mean? So you're still going to be able to fly, but remote ID is going to record your stuff. And then afterwards, after the fact, if they want to look into what you did in that remote area, they're still going to be able to tell. As soon as you come into broadcast area, or as soon as you come into Wi-Fi area or internet capable areas. So. But like I said, COVID-19 is still out there to get you. It's still going. And is it still COVID-19 now? Or is it becoming COVID-20? Or is it only COVID-20 when it's a new strain? I don't know. Anyways, it's still out there to get you. Most of all, for 2021, do me a favor. Be a nice human. Be a nice person. Don't judge. Just do your thing. Okay? Be a nice person. Wash your hands. wear a mask. Love you all. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you all for your gracious donations. I appreciate you all, and I'll upload some more videos. Take it easy. Aloha.